Good afternoon, everyone. It is 1:03 p.m. It is Saturday, October 29th, and that means it is time for another of Western Liberty Network's ongoing series of weekly trainings. Today we have Greg Burnett of Burnett Media Group. It is, among other things, a digital media company. He is expert. He has a staff of about 17 people that he does digital media with. We're really lucky to have him on this topic today. He also happens to be president of the board of directors for Western Liberty Network. So we're very happy to have Greg today. I'm going to share the screen really quick, and I'm going to show you the Western Liberty Network website. And for those who are watching the recording, I think some people here know this, but for those who may be watching this recording, if you go to westernlibertynetwork.org, you will go to this website. This website shows you what we're doing now at the top. And right now we're promoting our 2023 annual conference, which will be on February 4th. You can register for this conference now. We are confirming, but it looks like we're going to have at least one and maybe two and maybe three Congress people that are going to talk about the future of government at the federal level. We'll have 20 breakout sessions teaching people various skills and how to be successful in 2023, particularly those who are thinking about running for local nonpartisan office or supporting people for local office. We're also going to have a track for people who are interested in impacting their state legislatures. So anyhow, you can go to westernlibertynetwork.org. This is the homepage. You can register now and so on. If you scroll down, you'll see the upcoming Zoom session. The one that you see advertised here is the one that we're doing right now with Greg Burnett, and this changes as we have new topics on following Saturdays. And following this, you see things that Western Liberty Network has done with resources, various training, and sometimes you can see slideshows here. You can see speeches. You can listen to past speeches. There's just a lot here. And if you are interested in designing your own training program, you can click on the training tab, and this brings you to our training page. At the top, we talk about the kinds of training that Western Liberty Network offers. And then you go down here, you see companion training documents on a variety of topics. Click on one and you'll get one. And you can download it, you can reproduce it, print it out, give it to your friends. They're not copyrighted. The important thing is getting the information out. Click on a different one, you get a different PDF on a different topic. Go down to the bottom and you can download one file that contains all of our training documents. Now, these are all going to change very soon because we have just updated all of our training materials. They look a bit more polished. They're cleaned up just a little bit, and we're going to have those posted soon. But the information that you see now is very useful. Scroll down even farther, and you'll see the video recordings of our training sessions. There are about 2 years worth of sessions on just about every topic you can think of having to do with being a successful political activist. I provide a number of the trainings, but we also have experts in their respective fields do trainings as well, just as Greg is going to do a training today. If you see, well, one thing I want to say first before we leave this page is, just go over these topics and the videos and think about what your strengths and weaknesses are as an activist. You can literally design your own training program, and we're always in touch. If you have questions, we're always ready to help. If you like what you see, you can make a tax-deductible contribution to Western Liberty Network by going to our support WLN tag, and here you've got some PayPal buttons, so you can make one-time or monthly contributions. Mike Sudlecki on this call is a member of our $25 a month club. Thank you, Michael, for that. And that's most of the resources that we have on our website. A lot of great resources. We also have a Facebook page, and we're working on expanding those sorts of things. So anyway, with that, I will unshare the screen, come back here and point out that Western Liberty Network, as a 501c3 organization, does not endorse or oppose any political party or partisan candidate. We don't even endorse or oppose the candidates we train. We provide training, and then people are free to use the training as they see fit. And with that, I'm going to turn things over to Greg Burnett of Burnett Media Group and also president of Western Liberty Network's board of directors. I'm going to turn host functions over to him as soon as I figure out how to do that with this new version of Zoom. and he will have a PowerPoint that he will narrate alongside that. So I've just made you host, Greg, so take it away.
Fantastic. And, I hope, this coming year on that, we add on that conference coming up in February that we have coming out of an election. I can't say partisan candidates, but liberty-minded candidates are hopefully get swept up in a red wave here. Red as in liberty. So we're coming out of the conference. I hope we have a ton of excitement, and I think my guess is this one, Rich, is going to be record-setting because I think we're going to have a ton of excitement coming out of November, and I think most of the polls we're seeing are showing that. So that's just my side nonpartisan comment on social media. I am going to do this a little bit different. I understand some people watch this, and not quite a few, but I kind of want to talk to who's here more than who's not. So I wanted to ask Mike and Donna, first of all, what just a couple quick little give an introduction of who they are, what their experience with social media is in relation to political or issue related items, and say, what do they think that they could get out of this, what they're looking for, just so I know where we're starting with, and I want to be able to focus the conversation there instead of just repeating something we've repeated before. So I don't know if who wants to start with Donna or Mike, just a quick little introduction.
Hey, Greg, it's Mike. I just wanted to see if I could just learn a little bit more about social media. I use it, but I'm not super active like some people are. And I think, as we've talked about in the past, I think it might be it might result in the best bang for the time resource you invest, as far as making changes or persuading and that sort of thing. So just trying to get a little bit more educated about it. That's all.
Oh, that's a great way. Persuasion, investment return is definitely a key element to this. Hey, Donna, are you around, and give us a quick little insight on your world?
Sure. I'm Donna Kreitzberg. We're bringing school choice to Oregon, and we're going to have Greg's company help promote us and help educate Oregonians across the state. And I'm here mostly to better understand what exactly marketing and advertising is, because it's such a nebulous sort of concept. I want to know more point by point by point.
Gotcha. Well, and in regards to social media, I can definitely go down that road a little bit right now, and give you an idea, because pretty much everything we do, communication outreach, is a form of marketing, right? Am I having a conversation with somebody outside saying you need to go to this place because they're awesome is a form of marketing. So marketing is such a nebulous term. It is a term that is often overused. And people say they're in marketing. It could be somebody on a doing a massive national campaign, or somebody holding a sign outside of a pizza place. So it is a term that is difficult sometimes to get your arms around. It is, and I like to look at things more of what they do, not what they are described as. And my job, of course, is to try to get exactly where Mike was going, is how do you take the resources that you have and get the most out of it? And that's where our company really, and I'm not saying this to promote our company at all, I'm saying this to show you where my thinking comes from. But this is where our company comes from on everything we do. It is, especially social media, it is with the effort and assets we have, which is exactly the question, like Mike was saying, in every single campaign, nonpartisan or partisan or issue, every single campaign, if you want to call it that, has its own assets, its own limitations. It has its own money, its own staff, its own, what are the people and assets that you have to offer? Where can you best use those to get the most out of what you have to get to your goal? And that answer is going to be different every single time. I'm going to go ahead. Hold on a second. So I will start with just a quick little overview then, and forgive the look. I haven't shaved in a few days here. We're in the middle of a campaign season. Election's coming up in 10 days, and it is kind of a crazy time right now. We're doing the 16, 18 hours a day, and all day today and tomorrow behind the desk as well. So if I stammer a little bit, It's because my brain is only about 80% here. It's on a bunch of things right now, and not an excuse, just reality at this time of year. So I'm going to jump over here and give you a little quick little screen share and show you our social media. Some of this I'm just going to jump through really fast because you know, we all have different assets and resources. I'm going to keep this really straightforward and really simple because my main focus right now for the people watching this in the coming days is going to be, how do you help get your candidate elected right now? What can I do? This is not going to be a long training seminar on how to use social media necessarily. This is not going to be a big ramp up. This is saying, with what I've got right now, how do I best walk in the door and say, help my candidate? I can give you some good examples of people that are doing this right now, which are great, that we've trained. So I'm just going to give some of this is going to seem superfluous, and I'm just going to walk through it really fast, but I told you who I am. We don't need to go there. Does social media matter? Just a quick little overview just to say, like, is it worth it? And that goes back to the question Mike is talking about with resources I have in my way. And one of the biggest questions I get asked is, you know, if I'm doing something, how do I know it's working? How do I know it's impacting? How do I know it's influencing? Am I just talking to air? And there's a lot of unknowns in social media. Some people spend all day long doing their little tweet, and you get no response at all. Some people, if you do one tweet, can get you know, viral and change an election potentially. It is how you use things, and there's a lot of work behind the scenes that gets to something that works effectively. I'm going to start with, doing something is better than doing nothing. So regardless, don't get overwhelmed. And if whatever it is, what I ask first is, what are your resources? What time commitments do you have? How much do you want to give to this? What do you honestly have to commit? I would say the biggest failure I see in social media training from the results is when people get a little bit overwhelmed and they try to say, if I can't do it all, I'm not doing any of it. And I really try to avoid that, even though I can go really in depth and say, you can really get complicated and really get scientific on this, and very much you could make this a full-time job on the side as a social media warrior on your own and really influence campaigns. But don't get overwhelmed by that. Just going on there and liking and sharing a tweet is going to be more than 95% of the rest of the voters do. So know that anything you do helps. It's like knocking on one more door for a candidate, right? So does it matter? Yeah. In today's world, social media is literally everything. I can't tell you how many campaigns right now. I'm shocked at this point. We're running one big race right now, specifically where we've had one tweet from the opponent on our Twitter page. That's it. And it's to an article that slammed us. You know, it's because she was ticked. You know, people that don't take this seriously don't understand that they're giving up a huge amount of the game. It's earned media. It is, people will see this as your personality. It is your way to talk casually to people, but in a controlled environment. I also, just to back up a little bit, I call social media the reverse mullet. And the reason I do that, and you'll hear that once in a while, I say that just because it's easy to understand how I think of social media. Social media is something where it takes a ton of planning to do it really well, but it has to look casual on the front end in order for it to be effective. The more formal, and I could show you millions of examples of this. Okay, at least a dozen examples of this, and a lot of studies to show that the more serious and formal a social media campaign is, the less response it will get. The more friendly and casual it is, the more likely it is to catch virality or get extended and get more eyeballs. There's campaigns I'm on once in a while that insist that everything has to look like a printed ad in a newspaper, and it has to be everything has to be aligned in the right font and the right spacing and the right look. And quite honestly, it's not from lack of attention that many of them are not. It's by intention that they are casually looking many times. Of course, I don't want to misspell words, and I don't want to have bad grammar necessarily, but even that has exceptions. So first thing to keep in mind is a casual look on the front end to some extent, as long as you're keeping your brand of your campaign and it doesn't lower the perceived value of you as a candidate. But as a social media warrior, you're not the candidate, so you can be a lot more casual. See where that differentiation is. If you're a person that's helping a campaign, you can do things for the campaign that you can do things for the campaign. I'm letting Susan in there, Rich, that the candidate themselves cannot do. And I would say, before we get started on, too far into this, the biggest value you have, and I'm saying this from a consultant's perspective of running campaigns, the biggest value that a social media person has that's influencing us or helping us or promoting things is if they can say things that I can't say. My being defensive on a social media thread is not going to be seen in the same way as you jumping in and saying, hey, you're wrong, and this is why that candidate's right and why you should support them. That is a lot more powerful than the candidate going, hey, you're wrong, I'm actually really cool, and here's why you should support me. The wingman aspect of it in social media is significantly more powerful than the direct candidate. So just keep that in mind, that your power from an outside perspective many times is far more exponentially, in many respects, influential than the candidate themselves. I'm going to welcome Susan real quick here to the conversation. I just let her in there. Susan, could you give us a quick introduction, who you are, what your experience in social media, and what you're looking to find today?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can.
My name's Susan Johnson. I live in Hood River, and an email was sent to me about this this particular, program, and I was very interested in it because I'm not real savvy on social media, so I was thinking maybe this could help me out.
Fantastic. Well, I'll just I'm not going to go back to the beginning here necessarily, but I can give you up to. You can always download the presentation on westernlibertynetwork.org as well. There'll be a PDF on there. Just to give you a 30-second up to speed kind of thing. Typically on these presentations, there are a lot of bullet points. I don't make them formal. I change them between every presentation. Every single time I do them, I change them because social media and campaigns and everything change very quickly. Right now, I'm trying to focus mostly on the campaigns that are 10 days away, the election, and how we can, as individuals, help support our candidates in the coming days to really support the final blitz. I'm not going to get too deep into how we use social media in general and an ongoing perspective. That's for a much longer conversation, but I'll hit on that in aspects. Okay, so back to this, basically, does social media matter? That's really the short end of this. Yes. Okay. The next thing, it is one thing to keep in mind about social media, and is very, very important, is that social media and pretty much everything online is really, if you picture it as a popularity contest, it's no different than you being in high school and being the popular kid in class. It is how many people can you surround yourself with, and how influential those people are. I know it sounds really base, but that's human nature. But social media is the ultimate example of, and that's why they're called influencers. That's why we have, that's how we have everything in social media is all about influence and clout, I guess you could say. So it is a popularity contest. Keep that in mind. It does make a difference in elections. You can influence campaigns. Keep in mind also, before you get going, when you're talking on behalf of a campaign, and starting again, Susan, where we're back here, we're taking this from perspective of somebody that wants to help a candidate win a race. So what's going to be the best way to approach that? Keep in mind that social media is forever. If you post something, it's there. We have right now, every election right now, we always have old posts, it doesn't matter, or old tweets that we have from candidates that go back 2 years before, even though they've already been deleted. And they will come back to haunt us. I have one campaign going on a candidate right now, of course, out of context, but it doesn't matter. They're still there, that are just being beat to death on us. Some of them actually just got sent to Parents' Rights and Education because they endorsed one of our candidates. And they came back to, we knew they would come back, take it out of context. We know the people, but it's organized opposition. Keep in mind that social's forever. If you're thinking about getting into politics in the future, you kind of have to choose your path. Be careful of what you say now, because it will come back, and it doesn't, even if you delete it, it's fine, it's discoverable. So keep that in mind. On that note, again, social media warriors can do a lot more and be a lot more aggressive and be a lot more informal than a candidate. So if you're deciding that your path is not to be a candidate, to be more influence candidates, or even if you're going to influence candidates and later get into office, just keep those paths in mind, and that your conversation is something that can and will be held against you later if you're not careful. Keep in mind that one thing here I always try to reiterate is that your audience is not the person you're speaking to or replying to. Your audience is everybody else that reads that. Okay. So when you get into an argument or a debate, or if you're supporting a candidate, or if you're getting there to say, hey, that's not true, that's true. Don't make it personal. It ain't personal. It's not even real. This is social media. It's a campaign. It is trying to win hearts and minds over to your side to make sure your person gets elected in this example. So when you're posting something, tweeting something, whatever your forum is that you're on, make sure you position this in a way that is going to be read by other people the right way. Don't get defensive. Don't get angry. Don't use foul language unnecessarily. Obviously, try to be the better person. It doesn't mean you can't take intelligent digs at people. Just don't make it a personal debate, because you will be seen as the one that is the lower side of the argument, and people will disregard your conversation if you don't take the right side on that. Okay, one last little slide on this and we'll get to it. Social's not free. We know that. It's getting a little more free, I hope. We'll see. But clearly everything about social media is actually set up to censor. It always has been. That's nothing new. All the algorithms, I mean, if you can imagine, it's not just the negative side of censoring necessarily. For example, I have almost 5,000 friends on Facebook on my personal. I don't know half of them, but if I was going to get 5,000 people's posts across my Facebook wall every day, I would quickly not be on Facebook. So Facebook decides who they want to show me. They select by their algorithm who is going to come across my wall. That, by definition, is censorship. Now, how they censor that is where it gets tricky. But just be aware that everything is trying to break through the clutter. And how do you rise up in people's comments and be seen? Okay. Okay, I don't need to go through that right now. Like we said, just a little bit of work will set you aside from everybody else. Don't get intimidated. Don't get overwhelmed. If you just get on there, if you get on your, if nothing, you take nothing else away from this call. If you want to help a candidate, go to their Facebook, go to their Twitter, go to their Instagram, go to their LinkedIn, go to their find out and go to their website first of all and see that they're linked to these things, and then like them, follow them, and then make sure you share every one of those. Make sure you comment on them. Make sure you get in there and be intelligent about something that they're involved, that one of their platform statements, and own that. So that's the takeaway, if nothing else. Do the minimum, okay, and go from there. On that note, make sure you know Facebook is not social media, clearly. And quite honestly, in politics, Twitter gets us probably 6 to 8 times the influence that Facebook does right now. I wouldn't have said that again 2 years ago. 2 years ago, Facebook was the monster in the room. Today it's Twitter, is in regards to politics. Okay. What I want to do is I'm going to go through this very quickly because we don't have a ton of time today, but I don't want to go too deeply into some of these things. But one thing you want to do when you're getting ready to say, how am I going to help out? You want to say, who am I? Do a self-analysis, review who you are. Where do I feel comfortable? I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, am I on Instagram? Where am I? Am I a TikToker? What am I? And use my assets. Again, it's self-analysis, saying, what do I have to offer? I'm not going to get on Twitter for the first time to help a candidate if I've never used Twitter, because it has its own language. It has its own rules. It has its own type of feel. And if you don't know how to do it, probably, jumping in and being an influencer in that is probably not the best way to go. Go with your assets. Go with your strengths. Okay. Just kind of take an overview, just a summary of who reacts to my content. What kind of content am I good on? Where are the topics that people seem to respond to me on? What do I feel intelligent enough to speak on, that I know the issue, I have a good grasp on the issue? Okay. Look at your past, by the way. Judge your content by today's standards. And this is just something real quickly, because this is an important part. And I touched on this earlier, the whole social media lives forever, and people can find it even if you delete it. Yes, but deleting it's fine. One of the hardest things I find people have a hard time doing is deleting posts and tweets, because they feel an affinity to it. People have a hard time deleting their old tweets. I'm surprised how much so. And what you said 8 years ago on Twitter just might be an awful thing to say today, because society changes very, very, very fast. And it could be just it could be no issues whatsoever, but in today's time, it could be misinterpreted or taken in a completely different way than you intended. or quite honestly, the social trends have changed enough to where that can come back and be used against you. Look at everything you've done in the past real quickly, just scan through it all, take some time. If something there is something that you find in 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago that you tweeted or you posted on Facebook that you wouldn't post today, just delete it and don't worry about it. If you're a social media warrior, people aren't going to be digging too deep on that kind of stuff. Just make sure that there's anything at all that's out of context or wouldn't work today. Just get rid of it. Yep. Find out who you're going to support. If you don't know your support, look. And if you're actually, I'm a social media warrior and I want to help some candidates. I don't exactly know who, but I want to make sure and make a difference in my city, in my county, in my state, whatever it is. By the way, the more local, the better. The more local the candidate, the more likely you're going to have influence. So looking to help a state candidate is a little harder to do and more thought out, and you'll have a little less influence than if you are going to be working on a county or local seat. So find out if you don't know what candidates, go to the local county meetings, the party meetings, find people that you're closest aligned with, or that you say, I'm excited about this person, I would like to help them. There you go. I'm going to go there. The next thing I want to do is on the issues, become an expert on something. And, if nothing else, if you're going to specifically say, I'm trying to help a specific candidate, know that candidate. It's like when we train people before they go canvassing door to door. Read the website, read the materials. Don't just walk up to a door and someone says, well, what does he think about this? And you have a blank look on your face. It's okay if you don't know necessarily, but it's better if you know. So take the time and read and say, these are the issues that this candidate stands on, and this is why they're a good thing. Know the pros and cons, know how the opposition thinks about it, know the arguments against and for it, and why. Be able to at least basically be able to defend the issues that you are supporting. And doesn't mean you have to support everything a candidate supports, but just be really, really strong on the issues that you align with them on. Be able to sell them. In some respects, this is kind of like a wingman. If you're trying to set your friend up on a date or something, you want to be able to sell somebody, or it's a sales routine to some extent. You are selling a candidate to be able to get into office and support things that are going to make the society better, in your opinion. So take it seriously. Know the history, know his background, his or her background, the sides, know how they speak, know what issues and how they talk about them. Create a friends and foes list. This is always really good if you're just getting ready if you're newer to the community, or you're trying to get involved as an activist. The best thing to do, say my issue is tolling. I want to find in I'm using this as a current example, in Clackamas County, for instance. I want to find every activist group associated with tolling in my county. I want to get a hold of them. I want to like them on all their social media. I want to message them. I want to go attend their meetings if they have them. I want to get on a phone call with them. It doesn't take much. You can do this in an afternoon, easy. And just get to know these people and let them know that you're on their side. You are somebody that wants to help them, and you're going to be working on these issues with this candidate. Okay. It helps everything, because when you're social media, you want to be able to tag people and share them and so on. So just do a little thing, find out who the people are. Now, be a team player. This is a good idea. Again, this is going to be based on the candidate. If the candidate has a good consultant and they're up to date on how things work in a campaign, they're not too awful local, they will usually have some kind of social media program. I say that sometimes, again, I'm really shocked by some candidates that do not right now, even large campaigns. So if they have a current social media program, which they should, and that doesn't mean they just have a Facebook they post on every once in a while. If they actually have a social media presence, it's really hard to help a candidate who doesn't have their own social media program already, unless you want to do it for them, and then you're talking about a formal relationship. So if they don't have a social media presence at all, it's going to be really tough. I mean, so try to find candidates, and that's a different conversation how you would do that, but try to find candidates that have a decent social media presence themselves, and try to make sure you get in there where they're, like all their profiles, get in touch with them. So connect, follow, and monitor their social media program. Okay, just get up to date on who the team players are on that campaign. Connect directly with the campaign. This is extremely, extremely valuable. I can tell you the people that connect with me when I'm a consultant, that call me up or message me and say, hey, I would like to help you with your social media, or what can I do to help you be better on social media, or what can I do on social media that would help you? Whatever the question is, I jump on it. I am all over it. That person now is on my list. They're on a spreadsheet. I go, let me tell you how you can help. And I have a call with them. It's that important to where I will take my time and say, hey, John, yes, let's talk. And then I go in and I look at John's Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and say, oh my gosh, he actually has some decent influence. This is a guy that, you know, knows what he's doing. I get an idea, or he's going to need some coaching. I get an idea as a consultant. Get on the phone and say, hey, what can you do? I do the same thing I'm talking about right now. Who is he? Let's do an analysis. What's your background? What can you speak on? And then I actually get him up to be on the campaign. As a consultant, I actually set up a weekly social media call for most of my campaigns when I start a team. So they have a chance to jump on a Zoom call just like this and say, this is what's going on with this campaign. And everybody involved in social media that is part of the campaign can jump on there. And that way, for that week, they get all the updates of the campaign. We can help them say, hey, this is the topics of the week. These are the events we're going to. This is the fundraisers we're doing. This is what the opponent's doing. These are some things you can do to help us. It actually would take it very serious. The larger the campaign up, obviously, the bigger the teams for that. But I would say the majority of campaigns are not going to have a formal relationship on this. So your step is going to be, typically, if it's not a large campaign, get on their website. If they have social media, like, follow them, start monitoring. Okay. On the plan, I would say this is a real critical step. Most people don't do it, but I could tell you, and as a guy who hates putting these kind of things together, it is something that pays for itself a million times over. If you don't, what's that old adage? If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Okay. And this plan can be a note card. It could be a 3x5. It could be it could be a napkin with a pencil and paper, but put something down on paper and commit to something. How much time am I, and be honest with yourself, because the best intentions don't mean a darn thing in a campaign. If you know, I can't tell you how many times we get volunteers on campaigns, and the rule is 90% of them don't fulfill what they say they're going to fulfill. That's a given. So the 10% are the ones that do this. You know, put a plan down and say, I'm going to commit to X hours per week, 10 minutes a day, whatever it is, where I'm going to focus on this candidate and helping them. 5 minutes a day, whatever it is. Just put it down on paper. This is what I'm willing to do, and I will do it every day. It's like a workout plan, right? But you're doing this for helping a candidate. And again, this is an influential part of the campaign, and it makes a big difference. I can tell you story after story of campaigns where the biggest thorn under my saddle are the 5 or 6 social media warriors on the opponent's campaign, or the ones that are supporting them. They are the ones that annoy us to death and get tons of publicity relative to what they do. For the little effort they put in, they create storms that we have to deal with. So our job is to do the exact same thing back. Make sure they have to deal with our social media warriors, and they have to be responding to our people all the time. Again, it's a popularity contest. If you create more noise that is cognizant, that is coherent, that is well thought out against people on social media, you win the debate. And people read this. The 90% of the people that don't get involved will see your comments, will see the number of people that are responding, will see the coherent argument, and that will influence people. It will make you think that this candidate has these kinds of friends and these kind of arguments, and this is the kind of person I'm voting for. The ones that go crazy and go nuts tend to lose votes for their candidates. Keep that in mind. Okay. You know, just a kind of an aside on that. I love the opponents' influencers that are nuts. And, you know, I always have candidates that try to tell me that, you know, block this person, they're insane. And I'm like, no, they're insane. They're our best advertisement. I don't mind if they're making a horrible argument and they're nuts, just shy of threats, I will keep them on there. A fool that is speaking, I want to let them keep speaking, to let them say that represents our opponent. Great, go for it. So don't be offended by other people that are fools or crazy or whatever. Let them show what they have. I'm good with that. Don't be offended easily, have a thick skin. So make your plan, note card. What kind of time can I do? Create a little calendar. I'm going to do this every day between 5 and 6 o'clock. I'm going to get your lists on there, that friends and foes list that we talked about earlier. I'm going to be monitoring the no tolls pack. I'm going to be monitoring this candidate. I'm going to be monitoring the opponent of the candidate. Here's my list of people that I'm going to look at every day on social media. And I'm going to say, what are they talking about? Okay. What are mentions on it? If you get, I don't want to get into details of each platform, but on Twitter, who's mentioning them? What tags are they getting? So just be monitoring the platforms. And again, schedule the time, consider the software. And I'm going to do that right now. If you want to start a group, that's something again, that's for a different conversation. It's pretty late in the campaign to be doing that. So I don't want to go into that right now. Typically you can start a group and bring people in, but again, we're looking at this 10 days away. Live learning. That is a big deal. Social media is my dad had a joke growing up, and it was a teaching lesson. I worked in a wood shop with him for like 15 years. And when I would have something where I'd be, he'd have this joke, he would come to us and he'd be like, so this guy goes to the doctor and says, it hurts when I do this. And the doctor looks at him and says, don't do that. That was his wise words of advice every time I'd come to him with like, Dad, I am really frustrated with something's going on. He's like, then don't do that. It's really, it has a lot of wisdom put in there, but it's the same thing with social media. If it's not working, don't do it. If it's working, do more of it. Just keep in mind, watch how many likes and what comments get your best feedback. What do you say that gets the most response in the right way? What do you say that you learn your lesson? You're like, I said that didn't work. Or it caused somebody came back with something that was adapt. In other words, adapt your conversation, adapt how you do things, live and learn. Okay, and be patient. Content, original comments. There's different kinds of content you can put out. Content is basically what you're putting on social media. It's called content. Okay, so anything I'm adding to social media is content. There's different kinds of content that you can do. The most powerful being an original comment. If I go to my candidates board or on my own, say my own Twitter account, I have 1,000 friends, so I have some influence, putting something on my own page with my own voice and putting myself out there saying, I support this candidate, tag him because of the following reasons. And I really think you should too. That's the ultimate. 90% of people won't do that, but that is the ultimate. I just put it out there. If you're willing to do that, that is something that if I see that and somebody tags my candidate, I will share that on my wall every day. I will retweet it. I will repost that every which way. I will message them directly and say, thanks for the shout out. Thanks for supporting us. Do you have time to chat? I want to bring them in as an influencer. Okay. So it's rare how much that happens, to be honest. So if you're willing to put yourself out there and say, this is a candidate I'm willing to put my name on, essentially, and endorse on my social media platform, that's the most powerful one. Doesn't mean you have to do it. Just saying. Candidate news. Probably the second most powerful way to share information is sharing an article mentioning the candidate. Say a candidate's in the news, you're monitoring the news, you say, oh, this candidate was mentioned in the news. It's a good article about it. Sharing that on your wall is probably the next most powerful, with a comment about, hey, he's right on this issue. Or she's 100% the kind of person that I want to see advocating for this issue. That kind of thing is a simple, it's this candidate, share an article with your words of support for that issue. And by proxy, you're supporting the candidate. It's a little less threatening to put yourself out there in that way, but it does help a lot. Again, tag the candidate when you can. Add the @ signal, put their Facebook page or their Twitter profile and so on. So that's probably the second. Candidate content. Share a post from a candidate when you're monitoring, or the opponent, by the way. But share, because again, something to keep in mind, everything I'm saying here, and again, a long time to go into this, but everything I'm saying here is the exact same thing I could say for being basically attacking the opponent. And I don't mean that as a negative term, but calling the opponent out for the same things that you're, for the opposite reasons you're supporting the candidate. So everything I'm saying here about you monitoring the candidate, you should be monitoring the opponent as well. If you're good about this issue and saying, I support this candidate, you should be looking at the opponent and saying, here's why I don't support you. And make sure you're on their board and commenting and making sure they're responding to you. So you're doing positive comments for your candidate, you're doing negative comments for your opponent. And again, be the better person. Don't be the lowbrow crazy person that they use as their example of why you shouldn't support them. Okay. So share a candidate's tweet or the opponent's tweet. If it's the opponent, and say, this is why I don't support this person. They're wrong on this issue. And I'm really tired of this and we need to change. Whatever that conversation is. Tag the person you're supporting and say, I don't support them. Here's why. I support this person. So it's good, that basic content from the candidate or the opponent, share it to your wall. Another thing to do constantly, obviously, is it's the simple, most basic term. Every day, check the feeds of the candidate and the opponent and your groups that you're following. Like, share, retweet. That's about as simple as it gets. Okay. With your comment. Now, the ultimate is if you actually created had a blog and did an article. I'm not going to get into that right now because that's a little more detailed if you're doing early on in the campaign. Influencer content. That's going to be those groups we talked about, your friends and foes. So again, like the no tolling issue or the tolling issue. I want to, if I'm against tolling, I want to find the people that are for tolling and retweet something of theirs saying, this is what they're advocating. This is wrong. This is why I don't support these guys. And the candidates that are supporting them are this person, not this person. You get the idea. So again, negative and positive side. Don't forget to do both. Monitoring, again, this is the same thing when again, every platform, Twitter, Facebook, whatever it is, go in there, just go to their profile, see what they're posting. Don't assume it's going to come across your wall because it wasn't. That very thing we saw the very first on that censorship thing, the necessary censorship that every profile has and every platform has, they show you, basically, they filter content to you based on what they think you want to see. So don't assume something's going to come across your wall and you just want to say, oh, there's a post, reshare it. Go to the wall, go directly to the Facebook, go directly to Twitter, go directly to the Instagram platform, so on. One that's very, very, very important is jump into a conversation. If a candidate posts something or an opponent posts something that is on issue, it's on one of your issues that you're aware of, that you're something you can speak intelligently on, jump into the conversation. This is where you're going to have the most influence on the conversation, especially when you have 20, 30, 40 people jumping in there and saying one thing. You can change that conversation flow so quickly with one good answer, and you can shut down the opposition. One person has a lot of power on that with a serious conversation. Guys, did you think about this? You're wrong, and here's why. Again, you can say a lot more than the candidate can say as an outside person. The candidate can't come in there and say, hey, you're wrong, because then he looks like a jerk. So you have to make sure that, you're, as a person to person, I can tell you you're wrong, and I think this is why you're wrong. So you have a lot more leeway to be able to say that. So jump in on the comments and conversations on especially on Twitter and Facebook. Jump in there and change the direction. Share the post out to your friends that you think will jump in and join the conversation as well. Okay. Just in general, as you're doing all of these things, again, original content, share posts, share articles, share article about the candidate and opponent, share actual posts from the opponent and the candidate, jump in on conversations and threads. Those are kind of your 4 biggies, right? So on the content rules, just while you're doing any of those, just to reiterate, because it's very important, be more intelligent, understand the issue. Make sure you don't get caught off guard whenever possible. And if somebody challenges on you, don't be afraid to say, I don't know about that. Let me find out more and get back to you. Or I'm not aware of that. It's okay to say that. It actually makes you makes your argument better, and it actually makes you still, be more believable and more valued in the conversation. Don't be just insistent on doubling and tripling and quadrupling down on something where you've been called down on something where you're wrong. Say, this bill says that, and then they post a bill and it doesn't say that. That's okay. I wasn't aware of that. Let me do some more research. Step away. Where you are, be more intelligent, gracious, and informed. Don't be the one that's being the jerk. But you can be, on that same note, aggressive and edgy doesn't mean a jerk. You can be forward. You can call people out on things, and you can say people are wrong, and you can do things a candidate can't do. Keep that in mind. Don't take the bait if somebody's poking at you. Just ignore it. Let them be crazy. Don't be afraid of confrontation. Confrontation is the entire point of social media. Enjoy it, invite it, and never take anything personal. Never take it personal. allow people to make fools of themselves. We talked about that earlier. If a fool is talking, let him talk. Encourage him to talk. Again, learn and adapt. Okay, that's really the short version between now and the election. That's when I kind of give you the bullet points of what you could do right now. If you have a candidate you want to support, jump on their website, go find their social media profiles, follow them, go on the opponent's website, find their social media platforms, follow them, jump in there and start resharing their content, monitor the news, monitor the groups of the issues you're involved in, reshare their content, tag your candidate every time. If you don't want to tag, is a little @ sign plus the name of their profile. If you need more answers on that, you can email me. I'll show you how to do it. But it depends what profile you're on, and I get more specifics. But the idea is go in there, find content that is your candidate shares or the opponent shares, or an interest group on an issue you're interested in shares, reshare that on yours, get involved in the conversations when a candidate, reshare their posts. That's really the sum of it, and just push, push, push. It sounds simple, and it is simple for the most part, but it's amazing that I'll bet you, again, less than 1% of the people actually do it. 99% are people that watch and don't really get involved in the conversation directly that actually helps a candidate. So keep it rolling. Let me know if you have any questions. I will stop talking now because we're running out of time, and let you guys give me any answers on this, or give me any questions on it, and I'll try to see what I can share.
Good information, Greg.
Mike, Susan, Donna, you guys have any questions real quick on it, or you got, that makes it pretty straightforward?
I do actually. First of all, I just wanted to comment and say thank you very much for putting this on. It actually is very helpful. And then my next question was, you are going to post this on WLN?
WLN. So westernlibernetwork.org.
Okay.
I'm going to give Rich, the host, or I think he's going to take it back in a minute. He can always share the website for you. He did that at the beginning, but he can show you where to find it for sure.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Of course, Tom. And Susan. Rich, you want to jump back in?
Yeah, thank you very much, Greg. Just one more time, does anyone have any questions for Greg before we call it a day? Okay, we are recording this session. The recording will be up within a couple of hours. And I've asked Greg for a PDF of his PowerPoint presentation, so you'll be able to download that. Just go to the training tab of the westernlibernetwork.org website and scroll down to see the recording of the session. Again, it'll probably be a couple of hours before it's up. Greg, you had something else to say?
One last thing, and I'm saying this is just to kind of sum up, wrap everything up here, and why I kept everything really abbreviated and on point today, because we have 10 days to an election, regardless of your political stance, regardless of where you're coming from. The last 10 days is extremely important. 90% of the votes are coming in over the next 10 days or the week following, but they're coming in over the next 10 days for the most part. And it is, people are making their decisions right now. I'm watching the website real time. I'm watching the vote count real time on all the candidates. It's amazing how many people are jumping on the website, checking out our issues, going through the website while they're opening up their voters pamphlet statement. So now is the time to go to people and tell them that here are the candidates that I'm supporting right now, and here's why. It's a really important year. It's an important time to do that. There is literally thousands of people every single hour right now in Oregon that are making their decision, thousands an hour that are opening up their ballots and opening up their voters pamphlet and checking those boxes and sealing those envelopes. So social media posts to your friends absolutely have influence. Name recognition, people seem to forget sometimes. Name recognition on candidates, most of the time on a local race, never exceeds 10%. 90% of the people don't know who the people they are when they open up their voters pamphlet statement. They've never heard of them before. Okay? So only 10% of people even know the name. So your comments on them to your friends, people that trust you, people that know you, a comment well-spoken or shared out to a candidate or tagged out like we talked about in the presentation does have influence right now. So don't forget it.
Okay.
Thanks, Greg.
Okay.
Thank you.
With that, we'll call it a day. And again, the recording will be up soon. So thank you all for participating, and we'll see you next Saturday.
Thanks all.
Thanks, Richard. Thanks, Greg.
Bye, Mike.
Thank
See ya.
you.
Bye-bye.